it's also a great thing to achieve such a milestone. Looking at sports like tennis in the country, it's not popular because at the end of the day, I do what I do to try and encourage others to really take up the sport. Considering how I started really late. So obviously, I played wheelchair basketball and played table tennis. I was quite good in table tennis. And I think that's why I just picked up the skills, to quickly adapt to wheelchair tennis. Honestly, looking at where I started, like I said, I started in a school where there was no tennis court, but yet there I was saying I'm a tennis player. So for me, I realized how important it is that with whatever I want to do, giving back, I want to start in those rural communities.
Cool, let's get going. So, KG, just in starting, let's start with that iconic 2024 Wimbledon doubles title. What went through your mind the moment you realized you'd made history?
Well, obviously, things like that, they're not really in mind. I think when I approached the Wimbledon final, me and you, we were just argued that we lost it last year. So we were so willing to do better than we did in the last year. Because in 2023 we lost it like so bad. So when we went into that, it was just like we need to show them that we were not at our best in the last year. So for me, I wasn't even thinking of that. I wasn't even thinking it's gonna be history or anything. But yeah, it's also a great thing to achieve such a milestone. Looking at sports like tennis in the country, it's not popular because at the end of the day, I do what I do to try and encourage others to really take up the sport. Considering how I started really late. I was introduced to tennis at my late teenage. I mean, I was 19 years old. So having to make it at the level that I am, yeah, it's such an honor. So for me, whenever I do well, I just hope there's a young one out there looking at picking up a racket and willing to start playing tennis.
Yeah, and talking about growing up, Kamashashane, is that
No,
where you...
I'm Pasela. I was born and raised in Gampahlele, but we moved to Seshego while we were young, and yeah, most of our bringing then happened in Seshego until until I moved to Gauteng, obviously as an adult or in my 20s. But Gampahlele, that's where I was born and went to school, still in Limpopo province, place called Sinwabarana. And I went to university in Limpopo again, went to University of Venda. And after graduating, that's when I moved to Gauteng.
Okay, ballroom dancing as a youngster.
Yeah, I mean, did almost every activity at school, to be honest. So ballroom dancing, it was part of it. Being part of the school choir was part of it. Aerobics, yeah, and just generally sports on its own until tennis came on my last year of high school. So yeah, I was just pretty much an active kid at school back then.
And what kind of lessons do you think you learned from the other sports that you managed to now put all together onto the tennis court?
Yeah, I think I just think, I don't know. I think I picked it up from, obviously I played wheelchair basketball and played table tennis. I was quite good in table tennis. And I think that's why I just picked up the skills, to quickly adapt to wheelchair tennis. Even though at the beginning, pushing with the racket, it was quite a challenge. But in terms of how I need to execute things, I think I picked it up quite quick, simply because as much as everything is being done on a short table in table tennis, I feel like the skills are not far fetched from each other. So I think that's what assisted me to adapt so quickly in tennis.
Cool. And how difficult was it? I mean, convincing yourself, convincing your parents that wheelchair tennis could be a career?
Look, it wasn't so difficult. It wasn't so difficult simply because I grew up playing sport. I think by then they've realized that, I love sport. So if there's an opportunity for me to pursue sport, that was the time. And I think one thing that my mom was at peace with is knowing that I had finished my studies, you know. So, yeah, I think what helped me is just growing up, being active and playing sports. So it wasn't so difficult to convince them to let me, yeah, play tennis.
Cool. So with your partner, what's it, Kamiji? Seems like you guys have got a really good, like a really good partnership there. What's the secret to your synergy, and how do you navigate the cultural differences?
Honestly, we just sorry, we just bring our singles expertise, to be honest, because we don't live in the same country. We don't get to train all these things together. So, but like you mentioned, cultural, synergies, I think that's what makes us click because, if you think of the Asians, there are people who are so cultural also. And you look at Africans, it's almost cultures might be different, but we grow up with certain, norms, in life. So I think that's what makes us click because we are of a background that has certain norms and culture is a big thing. So that makes us, really, really get along because mostly off court, but on court, we just sort of try to use that relationship that we have off court just to cement what we can do. But yeah, on court, our only disadvantage is us living in different world. We don't get to train together until we meet at the tournament, and we try to, yeah, to make doubles work.
How did you guys get together? I mean, again, like you say, she's from Japan, you're from South Africa. How did you guys realize that you could be a perfect match?
Uh, it's not about even realizing you'll be a perfect match. Honestly, we are still opponents at the end of the day. We are around the world trying to play the tournaments throughout the year. So it was just that thing of just picking and trying what could work. That's what we always do out there, mostly with the doubles. Who can I match with? Who can my style of play, relate to? So that's how we tried it out, and like I said, because most of us, we are forever out there, same thing, same tournaments. That's how we get to know each other. That's how we get to communicate with each other. Like, let's try. If it doesn't work, you move to the next person. So there's no special ingredients in it, to be honest. It's just, yeah, just try to pick whoever that will work for you.
So you mentioned earlier about you guys, getting a beating at Wimbledon the year before, and then coming back and showing the world that you're the real deal. You can do this thing. Um, we spoke about kind of the highs of winning Wimbledon, but how do you pick yourself up and rebuild your confidence after that? Like what happened in the year before? How do you come back stronger?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in sport, you just need to realize that you're not going to win all the time. So you need to build a mindset that, every loss, it's a lesson. You need to learn from that because honestly, there's really no time to feel sorry for yourself or to be sad about it or to be down about it because you lose this week, the next week you have to play a tournament. So you need to just have that mindset of realizing when things don't go your way, you have to get up and move on, but take lessons from, all those losses. So that's just the mindset that you have to carry in mind because every time we compete, it's many of you. At the end of the day, there's only going to be one winner. So it's not going to be all the time where you get to win. But when you don't win, you have to be able to get yourself into that, because hanging into it longer, it might just ruin the entire season. But having the ability to realize that there's more lesson to take from all those losses in terms of moving forward, that's just the way you improve and get better.
So for the people out there, take us through the day in your life. I mean, what does the day of an elite wheelchair tennis player look like?
Well, the day in the life of an elite athlete, I would say it's just working smart. There's a way of people saying, no, you need to work hard, but yeah, we work hard, but at the same time, the most important thing is being able to work smart, because you can put quite a lot of work, physically on yourself, and you find that your recovery time, is not enough, and that's just not working smart. So you need to balance the things. So for me, pretty much depends. In a week, depends where I lack or where I feel like I need to improve. So with my tennis, depends if I go whatever goal that I have in a day. If I manage to achieve it, I don't believe in training more than two hours and over. If I get into training and within that hour I feel good about it, I believe in hanging on to those feelings, so, and coming back, having lunch, hitting the gym after, also it's also being specific on what's being done on the gym, where I want the areas that I want to improve on the body. If could it be, I was prone to a lot of shoulder injuries, so I make sure that whatever I do, as we use a lot of upper body strength, I keep strengthening that. As for cardio, I cannot even say, because we do cardio almost every day, so not to worry about that. Make sure that whatever I do, work on strengthening, making sure that I uh, I protect. I don't think it's the right word, but yeah, just something that's gonna keep me away from injuries. So shoulder strength, neck strength. I'm someone who suffer a lot from, headaches and all that. So it's important for my neck to be stronger. So those are just like, my focal point. And in tennis also, rotation and flexibility is quite important. So not getting into the gym, trying to look, like like a bodybuilder. I'm not trying to build muscles, but, do things that I know they will allow me a free flow of movement whenever I'm trying to hit my shot. So I am more specific. And also, one thing that I also do on court, I do certain exercises that are related to how I'm executing my shots. So everything for me, it has to be specific. So I'm not a kind of an athlete who goes into the gym to look good or something. It's for me, it's about understanding, my struggles or the areas where I feel like, yeah, I need to improve. And also what you eat is quite important. Like I mentioned, recovery. I think recovery is one thing that most people, ignore. We feel good today, and the following day we feel like maybe I pushed too harder, but you find that your recovery wasn't so good. So what you eat also in a day, your pre-meals before you go to training, what you eat after training, what you drink after training. But also at the end of the day, you still need to stay clean. We're all about promoting a clean sport here. So you need to really be careful of all those supplements that you uses. So yeah, for me, it's just all about that. So it's more about, yeah, work hard, but be more smarter, be more specific on what you want to achieve. So in that week, 5 days of tennis, 3 days of gym. Yeah. In a month, at least 3 sessions of, mental training. It's also, like important, because it's important to train the brain as much as, train the body. So Yeah, I'm not gonna tailor to you like it's a a program, but it's just how it's been working for me in years, and I'm still trying to find ways on how to improve it. So whenever I'm out there, look at how other athletes are doing it, if I can add it to my routine and see if it works for me. So yeah, it's just a learning process. But yeah, for me, I'm just a fan of it's fun to work hard, but be more smarter, because sometimes just working hard on its own, it can actually, yeah, let you down, because you can put so much pressure on yourself. You don't have enough time to reflect because you're too focused on getting the work done all the time.
So you spoke quite a bit there about kind of adaptability. And I mean, in your sport, and I think maybe you're going to have to talk us through this because a lot of us are not, we're tennis fans, but we're not technical about the sport. But how do you adapt your game when you move onto different surfaces? So if you're playing clay one week, then you move on to grass court. Just talk us through all of that.
So I know tennis looks easy from the sideline. Well, yeah, and it goes, like you're mentioning, surface to surface, and not necessarily surface to surface. Also, how the weather is by the time you play in different surfaces. So, because it starts with your equipment, you need to make sure that with your wheelchair you have the right set of wheels, in your tires, right set of tire pressure in your racket. You have the right tension depending on the kind of a ball that you're playing with and the kind of a weather that you're at. And you need to know when you play on the hard court if the court is quicker or slower. So you need to know all those things. So that's why it's important to always go earlier and acclimatize, and then make those adjustments. Because if you don't know all those things, you get so thrown off a lot. So those are the things you need to know at all times. So on hard court, you need to know the speed. Is the court faster or is it slower? And on the clay court, same thing with the equipment. You need to adjust all that, but you need to know that the ball bounces higher to those who play top spin, but the surface can get slower. So you need to be more patient, in your game. If you're an aggressive player, you need to bring yourself to that level, knowing that this is a slow surface, the ball bounces higher. Is it so difficult to those who hit flatter to always generate, the pace? So how the ball reacts is always important on the clay court. And on grass, in wheelchair tennis, there's not going to be a lot of movement because the grass is heavy. And with the grass court, even the preparations, you need to make sure that you did a lot of resistant training going to the grass, because on the grass, you cannot manipulate your chair whenever you want to maneuver it with your hips. Everything is just on the arms, pushing and hitting. You can't even use your upper body to manipulate it at all. So resistant training going to grass, it's very important. And the grass is quicker. So going into that, also same thing, you need to adjust your tension. The ball is faster. So the higher tension it is, the better, because you want to use the power from the other or your opponent. So you don't want to be generating much. And also on the grass, you need to have a good touch or a good feel, because nobody likes pushing into the court because the grass is heavier there. We prefer being at the back, because by the time we come into Wimbledon, all the able body has, lowered the grass a little bit almost onto the ground. But inside the court, the grass is still heavy, it's still higher. Whenever you go in, you just feel like it's a lot of work. So if you have a good touch going into that surface, you want to do that. Play shorter as much as possible, and yeah, you just need to make sure that your touch game it's so good whenever you go on grass, because that's what's going to win you quite a lot of points. And also with your serve becomes very effective if you can vary it or you can hit a lot of slice, because once it hits the ground and changes the bounce. So you can't just hit it flat. You need to put a lot of spin on it so that when it hits, it changes the bounce. Because it's on the grass, it can go anywhere. It's so unpredictable to read. So, sorry. So those are just like the kind of things that you need to look into onto which, which surface requires what. I mean, even on clay, they like, you need to have a good touch game. For me, I'm like, in wheelchair tennis, your drop shot needs to be super good on clay court, but on grass, it can be as bad as it is because once it falls onto that heavy part of the grass, it just dies. But on the clay court, with the second bounce, one can still get to that. But I was like, the one terrifying thing on clay is adapting to the higher bounce that bounces be over your shoulders. So yeah, you just need to mostly the weather. The weather is so crucial. You need to know when it's sunny how the ball is going to behave. When it's cold, how the ball is going to behave. When it's cloudy, how the ball is going to behave. So there's a difference. It doesn't feel the same all the time. So those are things you need to bear in mind. And as the weather changes like that, also you need to know what tension are you going to be restraining in your racket so that you have a better feel on the ball.
You've got a foundation, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Um, so your NGO focuses on rural sports development. Can you just give us a story from your work that's one of those moments? I think for all of us, giving back is such an important and pleasurable thing. But just maybe tell us a story or two about some of those things that keep you motivated.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, looking at where I started, like I said, I started in a school where there was no tennis court, but yet there I was saying I'm a tennis player, and looking at where I come from, where I was born. I mean, that village, even today, there is not even a thorough soccer field. It's just still like a muddy soccer field or a dusty soccer field with wooden poles on each side. So for me, I realized how important it is that with whatever I want to do, giving back, I want to start in those rural communities and try to bring them these facilities because I felt like somehow I was robbed. If I had this talent, but I couldn't have access to play a sport like tennis at a young age, I feel like that had robbed me so much. But if there's anything that I can do to nurture that kind of a talent, it's of important for me to really focus on developing such facilities, which one of the projects started in my previous school, which today they have two, multi-purpose court. They get to play tennis on the right dimensions of a tennis court. They get to play basketball on a real, dimensions of a basketball court, and netball, even though they don't do it so much. So, it was just something like that that really motivated me that this is the area that I want to focus on. And that's where it started. And the next project also is going to happen in another special school, also in Limpopo province. And I'm starting in Limpopo province. For me, it makes sense because charity begins at home. So, and also in special schools, because that's the environment that I understand better. And I realize that in South Africa, a lot of communities actually, some do have these facilities, but they end up doing the wrong things on them. So, and for people with disabilities, almost like they need to leave their spaces to go and access that. So I was just like, why not bring the facilities to them? So for me, that's just what's really, really motivate me. But the most important thing about this is just having sustainable programs within these facilities because it doesn't help if you leave a facility and you don't get a future star coming out of it. For me, after I retire, I would like to see a youngster really, coming up, which is that's just the biggest pressure than giving back or actually trying to find the next star in wheelchair tennis, mostly a female player. It's such a yeah, it's such a that's such a massive project to work on. But yeah, with my foundation, that's what we do. Erect facilities in those disadvantaged areas just to give others an opportunity to play all this elite sport that we are not fond to, play simply because they say they are not affordable. But yet, you have champions like me wouldn't have it at all, but we managed to actually conquer, the sport at the highest level. So for me, that's what I'm doing with my foundation. And yeah, I just hope this next project at Letaba Special School can come sooner this year, because that's how I want to also launch the foundation officially. So it's not something that I've really been speaking about, just been doing things quietly. But this time, just, yeah, something that's coming alive now. The foundation is getting support there and there. So we're ready to work, and yeah, just crossing fingers that we achieve what we're looking for in these things.
Cool, man. That's amazing. That's really exciting. And keep us posted. We'll follow that journey with you. Let's move on to a couple of fun things and then we'll wrap up.
Sure.
Ask you a question and I need you to try and answer as fast as you can.
Okay.
Don't go too deep. Don't give it too much thought.
All right.
Okay. Your favorite tournament city and why?
Well, I would say Australia because they have Nando's.
Your dream doubles partner, dead or alive?
Yui Kamiji.
Your guilty pleasure snack during tournaments?
Very clean. I snack on fruit.
Tell us one thing fans don't know about you.
That I'm talented.
We know that.
I don't know. They haven't seen it all. I don't know. That I'm funny. Yeah, I'm funny. Yes.
There we go. So just in closing, if you look back on your career, what are you most proud of and what's still unfinished business?
What I'm most proud of is just having, the resilience that I have. I've been doing it with the bare minimum, but I never gave up. Always had the ability to bounce back whenever I'm down. And yeah, I still want to win a singles Grand Slam. So that's just my biggest goal. That's what I want. I think once I achieve that, once I win a singles Grand Slam, for sure I'll be ready to even hang the racket.
No, don't hang up too soon.
I'm old.
We all are, KG. It's fine. Last one. Firstly, thank you so much for your time and inspirational story. Been really, really good catching up with you. Let us know where people can follow you, see your humor. What are your platforms? Maybe your foundation, where they can get more information on that. So just give us all of those, please.
Yeah, I mean, on my website, Kgothatso Montjane. Kgothatso Montjane is who the city. That's my website. Also get my foundation information there. Catch me on Instagram, KG Montjane 1, I think, and recently on TikTok, also KG Montjane. Yeah, Facebook page as Kgothatso Montjane, Twitter as Kgothatso KG Montjane. So those are the platforms that I'm at. But normally they are pro, no funny stuff. But as for the foundation work, will be coming up soon on all those platforms.
Perfect. KG, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed having a chat with you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Have a good one. Take care.
Thank you.